Good evening to a nightly lecture on 1477 of the series. We are presently, 1477, yes. We will continue with Wittgenstein, Rethinking the Inner. Wittgenstein's claim that the notion of a sense impression is secondary to that of the external world is controversial and worth looking at in more detail. According to Wittgenstein, what we learn first is the use of descriptive words. That is, we learn, that's a chair. That's red, etc. Only later do we learn that seems to be a chair, or that looks red to me. This does not mean that we begin by learning a false certainty. Rather, Wittgenstein's point is that doubt only enters the game at a later stage. Only after she has learnt that is a chair can she learn to say, that seems to be a chair. impression that a chair is there, even though I know one isn't. Similarly, the individual learns to use the word read in connection with the public paradigm and demonstrates her mastery of the word by pointing to the appropriate sample. It is only later that reference to a perceiving subject enters the language game. When it does, the language game gets a new joint. For the read visual impression is a new concept. When it does, the language game gets a new joint. For the read visual impression is a new concept. Even at this stage, however, the person who says, "It looks red to me," must still be able to demonstrate that she understands the concept by pointing to the right paradigm. That is, pointing to something indisputably red. But it is red, my comment, according to the language game. The language game, so to speak, teaches chair. It teaches what is the language game of features, properties, redness. That comes later. First comes the chair, the word. This turns everything in the ordinary understanding of language and philosophy upside down. Expressions like chair has a purpose. The purpose must come first before it can be perceived as something, an object, something that doesn't participate that actively in the language game. But it is only there as something for us. No matter what it is. The same goes for even mountains, woods, herbs, vegetables. And I know this is far from conventional, but it has to be that way. Things like chairs and mountains does not just fall from the earth, from the sky to the earth. And then later, language games of discernment for the proper thing to be a chair will come into action, but only later. Far from being primary, the notion of a sense impression is a refinement of the original language game, not its basis. This is so good, I'll repeat it. The notion of a sense impression is a refinement of the original language game, not its basis. If we now ask why the language game should come to be modified in this way, the answer is not hard to find, for on occasion we may be just as interested in what the individual thought she saw, heard, felt, etc., as in what actually happened. It is useful, therefore, to supplement the language of description. The object was read with the language of sense impressions. I had an impression of something read. One effect of this change is to allow us to present the language game in a completely new light, for the concepts originally used to describe the outer world can now be used to populate an inner world. this new inner world will necessarily parallel the outer one. For its function, is to mirror the outer world and give an account of what we believe happened, which may or may not correlate with what actually happened. As Wittgenstein puts it, the description of the subjectively seen is more or less akin to the description of an object. But just for that reason does not function as a description of an object. The two types of description have similar forms, but they play quite different roles in the language game. The concluding thing must be, as these remarks show, Wittgenstein does not reject the metaphor of the inner world, but he does emphasize how easily it can be misinterpreted. It's just amazing. The object can never be first. It's a refinement of a chair. It comes later, necessarily. This is an expansion of Gibson's affordances to an incredible degree. I wonder why this hasn't entered into cognition. I say thank you very much and have a very pleasant night. Bye bye for now.